This is Ben Swazinski telling you that what you're about to see are some scenes that I took back in 1938-39 with my 16mm camera, and I've now put them on a tape, hoping that the family would be interested in seeing what happened back in those days. Primarily, this is to be more of a family film, and as much as I could find, as many people as I could find, you can see that I've unrehearsed this completely. But on the scene it says there's my father rocking along in the chair on a Sunday morning. My brother Joe, as he's coming into back from whatever, he's the sport of the family. The old homestead back at 20 Carroll Street. And here's our pet dog. I can't remember the dog's name because that goes back too far for me to remember when you get to be 79 and counting. My father's favorite friend was a little cat that we had for many years, and he tried for many, many years to get that cat to do the jump. And one day he finally was able to get that accomplished, and it was a real thrill. Oh, my mother, what a pretty woman she was. Still is. It's got to be Sunday. And off to church they go. One thing we did go to church together at 9 o'clock Mass, I remember that. The old Buick that we had. Imagine having something like that today. Ah, yes, here we are. Bye-bye. Just go down the road a piece and I'll get in and catch up with you when we go to church. Oh, this little girl, I believe, is Jane Pino, and it looks like the other girl could be Josephine White. I could be wrong, but she sure looks like it. These were taken back in the old homestead of the folks on Front Street. It's my Aunt Bernice and her daughter. We used to call her Bernice. Now I found out that Bernice is more correct. Something nice to look for. And I think this is Irene White, and that could be Josephine. Could be Pearl, I don't know. I'm Josephine down below. My Aunt Marion back raking up the hay and kind of cleaning up the yard. Wonderful person. These folks are all on my father's side, on the Swazinski side. So nice to look back at scenes like this. Josephine White. And my grandfather and grandmother. I think that's probably the first time they ever got together. That's probably a Sunday, and his happy day is when he has a cigar. And we try to talk him into kissing my grandmother. I remember my grandmother could never speak English, so I had to learn Polish, which I did. Boy, that was really something to do. That's in front of the rest of the entire family. My grandmother was same name as my Aunt Josie, Josephine. Grandfather worked at the Exeter Mill at that time. This is Bernice Pinkowski in the Hayrow, from the Hayrow group. As she is with a friend of hers, the chum. My Aunt Margaret. And my cousin Margaret, Pinky we called her. She was a nurse in the service at one time. And my Uncle Steve. And now there's our family get-together, the three of them. This is in Hayrow. We used to have a lot of nice times together. I guess they had a couple of pets they enjoyed, too. My Uncle Michael and my Aunt Catherine. And I have a feeling that the youngster that we're going to see, the Pinkowski is the name, incidentally, I think this is Henry Pinkowski. I'm not sure. but I think it goes back to that time. Got to be thinking about 38, 39. Here he goes. Sure looks like him. My Uncle Michael tried to teach me how to play the banjo, but he was very good at it. I just couldn't seem to string along with him on it. Never made it. Sure looks like Henry. I guess this is typical of what we do as parents, give the youngsters a ride. It's taken out in our backyard. There's the old barn that fell down eventually. We had some nice get-togethers way back. It was so nice. Quick picture of downtown, my mother and father. Here's my Aunt Nellie with my Uncle Bob Miller and the two boys. I think the one he's holding is probably Ronald, and the other one is Bobby that was in the shot just a while ago. There he is. I believe that's Bobby, and this is Ronnie. These were taken in the house. I tried taking some indoor films at that time. I wondered how well they were going to come out. But here they are. Kind of bright lights. Yes, really. Ronnie lives with his family in Orange County, California now. Guess we had a project going there for a while. Well, see, he has the ruler. This is our apple orchard. My father's very proudly coming out of there, checking to see if the apples are coming along. One of his favorites was playing the player piano, and he used to get a big kick out of that. We had all the old player rolls, and now he's showing that actually he really wasn't playing. The rolls are doing it. Still have the piano. It's here at the house at 83 Winter Street. It's in the hallway, and I think we're using it to put things on more than anything else, because we certainly can't reach the pedals with the stairway. This is Mrs. Markey and her son, William Markey. These are very good friends of my mother, and they used to chum around together, go down to the beach, enjoyed it. Mrs. Markey was able to drive. There's my mother at the beach. Kathy Markey. Those were the days when there's my father really, I don't know what he's up to. Those were the days when the beaches were fairly clean, and you could have cookouts on the beach. There weren't too many people around. Never guess who this fella is. Certainly not a Tarzan. I guess I was about 20 years old at the time and trying to make a body. These scenes, I think we're taking at North Beach. These are some random shots that I took. I don't know who these people are, but they were taken somewhere around the school area. I don't know how I would expect to go back to 1939 and 40. That's the Exeter Inn that you just saw on the left-hand side, and that's the driveway coming out of there, where the children coming out of it. It's, that leads to the seminary, Robinson Female Seminary. Some of the students leaving school. Look at that car, if you will. In those days, days, First Communion was really a big deal. It actually is now, but there were more people involved, and the rituals seemed to be different, although it still meant the same. I know I must have taken a picture of these pictures for a reason. I don't know exactly what they were, but must be somebody in the family that received First Communion. Now we go to, from family pictures, we go to automobile racing at Newmarket in 1939. Those were the fast days on a Sunday afternoon. If this is sound, maybe I could make motor noises when these cars take off, but I'm not even going to try. The track is still there in Newmarket. It's on Old Swamp Road, but it's not being used for anything as far as I know. You can imagine all the people that came out to see this excitement. All these cars getting ready for the afternoon's entertainment. Never knowing what's going to happen. You have to pump up a little bit of the pressure into the gasoline area. Give them a little start and a kick, and off they go. And it was dusty, it was dirty. No hot top, it's strictly gravel. However, they did spray it every once in a while to keep some of the dust down. I guess some of these are test runs. See the size of those cars and the tires, really something to see. Great for little kids to have now, probably 15, 16-year-old kids. Now I guess we're getting ready for the race, at least one of them. And they're off. Broom, broom, broom. All four cylinders chugging away. Part of the crowd. That's the end of that race. Still they're coming. There's always someone left behind. He'll get there. This is a little switch I had worked on. I told these fellas that I'd be in the middle of the track when they came around and be helpful if they avoided me, and thankfully they did. So off they went. There they go. I think they reached a peak of about 60, 65 miles an hour. The reason I'm showing these is I ran out of family films. It was too bad that I wasn't able to get more people of the family, both families in there, but I had to do these at whenever it was available. They were available. I guess we've got a wheel missing. I thought I'd tack these on. I thought some of the people might be excited to see what they did in the old days when we were younger. Well, that's a good turnout for the Newmarket area. Now we're switching to photos that I took back in 1938, right after the hurricane. These are shots taken at Hampton Beach. You can see the erosion that took place, the damage along the waterfront. This is right in the center of Hampton Beach. All those concrete slabs, the sidewalk was eroded. Bandstand, what was left of it, was almost washed away. You see how far inland it went from the ocean shore. That was all parking lot there. Had to be pretty ferocious to lift up those big pieces of concrete and wash them down. gives you a better view now of what actually took place, the results of that storm. Bill Summerfield, the man in the middle, my next-door neighbor, was the well-known well driller in the area. He was able to drill artesian wells even before they became popular. And at the age of 65, he decided to learn how to fly. And so, being friendly as we were, I asked him if we could go flying together so I'd take pictures of downtown and other areas. And so here we are. That was one of the Piper Cubs, the plane that is, that flies at about, I would say, 65 miles an hour. Some of the scenes looking towards Portsmouth, Great Bay Area, coming up, I believe. That's the airfield that we flew out of. That was Hampton Airfield. This is some of the area where we lived, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. We used to call it the West End of town, the League of Nations. The Polish people, the French people, the Lithuanians. And I think we had a couple of English people there, and one Irish. Downtown Exeter, the old mill way in the background, and the river. And in the foreground we see parts of the Exeter Academy at that time, which of course has grown quite a bit since then. More of the Academy area in downtown. Now we're talking about in the 1930s, like 38, 39, 40, I don't remember exactly when. Looking right straight downtown with the Exeter River there. Squamscott River, I should say, because the Squamscott River was the salt part of the river, and I believe this is the Robinson Female Seminary, if I'm not mistaken. And that is, I think that was Wise Shoe Company. And these are the Exeter Rose Gardens, known for many, many years for the beautiful roses that they produced there, shipped around the world. The stadium of Phillips Exeter Academy, which now has been changed quite a bit. And now, I hope the films that you have brought, if you have seen it, have brought back some pleasant memories. Best to all, and God bless you.